So the implementation of the strategy and the portfolio has its limitations and a lot of challenges that come within it as well. And we recognize that even in successful and profitable organizations, there's a way in which they could be more successful if there's more alignment and the organization work together in order to be able to align with what's been delivered, how it's been delivered, how long it's going to take to be able to deliver it, and do we have the right resources to be able to deliver it in order to achieve the value that is being driven. So in most organizations, the projects take place all over. And we've all witnessed symptoms where lack of alignment and not working together or not communicating well does affect the progress of those initiatives and the overall growth of the organization. And one of those things is a lack of alignment, like I said. So this creates a space where there's no visibility to all the projects that are being worked on. And these, even though a lot of hours are being consumed, there's cost associated to it, and the resources within an organization are working towards it, there's no official list of approved projects for the organization. And then we just know that people are busy and they're working on stuff, but there's no visibility as to what people are working on and what value is being driven out to be able to contribute to that achievement of the strategy. And in most cases, projects are approved by one function or they're cancelled by another, and that's not communicated widely. So there's a lack of alignment in terms of knowing exactly who's working on what and what resources do we have available, or what else we could bring in to be able to drive the strategy. And there's also a lack of predictability. And although this may just seem like another symptom of a lack of alignment, it's very common even when the functions within the organizations are not aligned. And the lack of predictability is due to a combination of basic human optimism, so limited information on project progress and untimely analysis of the available project information. And in most cases, or so sometimes even the HR department have no visibility of the type of skills that would be needed for a potential project. So we do the strategic planning, we align everything, we have the project, the portfolio is set up, but then no one knows or looks at whether there is the right resources to be able to deliver these projects. And for that reason, it's hard to determine whether a project would be successful, even though it's hard to predict, but there's some level of confidence within the delivery of that project that could assure senior leadership that the money is being invested in the right place and they would get value out of it through continuous improvement. And this also means that there's no official or approved way of looking at how risks are being managed. So project risks are not acknowledged or recorded early. So their occurrences are a complete surprise to the project team, and often what should have been known is not known because risks are not being identified and managed, and mitigation plans are not in place to be able to mitigate those risks when they do become issues. Another limitation is the organization being in a reactionary mode. So if risks are not acknowledged upfront and mitigation plans not developed, organizations could spend more of their energy being reactive rather than being proactive. I know this causes an increase in time commitments because Agile requires the business to review and prioritize projects at least quarterly to get senior management approval. It also requires a bigger time commitment than traditional annual planning processes. But because project risks, because teams have to scramble in reaction to risk events, this may have been prevented if integration processes existed and are well documented between functions. So if there's the identification of dependencies between projects or initiatives, or identifying what could go wrong early enough and that is being documented and actively monitored, that could also help in terms of determining how productive the product team are working and how prepared they are to be able to tackle these issues when they do arise. This is a contentious one. I know in Agile there's a lot of talk around should we have governance or the lack of it, but there's limitations around being able to determine how productive a team could be if there's no structure around the way in which projects are being delivered. So one of the most important processes in managing a portfolio is to have a selection process at the very least for the approval of projects so that they would align with the company's strategic objectives. It's just as important as ensuring that approved projects are getting the right funding and the skilled resources required to be able to achieve the promised return on investment. So the lack of structure and certainty is really something that needs to be at the forefront of the portfolio. It really needs to be something that needs to be looked at when you're forming portfolios, and especially when it has to do with aligning with strategic objectives. And it may be difficult for both management and business stakeholders to initially accept, but I believe is one of the things that has helped us a lot in terms of being able to have that accountability for what is being delivered and the value that it's bringing to the business, rather than it just being something that we want to do because it's a nice to have. So there's that approval process and that weighting system to be able to determine that it is a good fit at the right time for the organization.